Okay, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Catalyst Energies. My name is Dee. Thank you for joining me. I'm so grateful that you're here. Welcome to the Daily Medicine Transmission for November 3rd, 2021, the day before the Scorpio new moon. So some technical difficulties. Ouch. Thank you for bearing with it. I have no idea why it was happening, why it wasn't streaming properly. These are answers that I just don't have. But it appears that we are good to go right now. So I'm going to keep burning this Palo Santo here because that did throw me off just a little from being in the flow as I prepared for this transmission. So welcome back, everyone. Welcome if you're new to this channel. Thank you so much for being here. I truly appreciate each and every one of you. So how are people feeling? Let's check in and see if the stream is even like functioning right now, and make sure that all is well on this end. So it appears that it is. So welcome everyone to the Daily Medicine Transmission. Wow, that really did throw me off. So, but the good news about that is that it's not as bad as it could be, I suppose. It's been many days of solar bombardment, a lot of agitation, confusion, bewilderment, some good things happening for sure. There is certainly been enhancement, amplification. There's been a lot of shifting around. We're going to look and see the seismic activity on the planet really increased over the last day. And of course, we just keep getting solar weather. Now, right now, it's pretty calm, and we'll look at those charts and graphs that show us that, but we are still expected to receive the impact of the CME either tonight or tomorrow, coinciding with our Scorpio new moon. So this moment here, this view from the moon is a very wide, very transcendent perspective, and it does feel in some ways that we've reached kind of this the stasis point. We have our dark moon in Libra, right? Which is about finding balance, being in harmony, being in peace with the world around us and within us, right? So there does appear to, at least to me, to be this settled moment for the moment. And then we will be impacted by more solar weather. So it may not be nearly as intense as maybe it could seem. There has been some geomagnetic disturbance over the last day, as we'll see as well, but right now it's pretty mellow and it's pretty calm, and so there'll be another wave of unrest of the geomagnetic variety as the CME reaches us, but it may not be nearly as, I don't feel like it'll be nearly as disruptive as the last couple days have been, especially from the weekend leading into the 1st, right, on Monday, which was November 1st. So we'll be taking a look at that stuff. And of course, the reading and the astrology. So how are people doing? That's really good. See, Barbara had mentioned that feeling much more settled today. I do as well. Very, very much settled. Almost euphoric in some strange way this morning. We got our first real freeze last night. It took till November to get it, but we did get our first real freeze overnight. And so I'm in bundled mode. We're drinking warm beverages, sitting by the fire, wearing big old sweaters. So, there has been, and it's almost grounded us in a way, but there's been quite a bit of agitation and enhancement, and I do feel like that I'm kind of getting ahead of myself in my own mind right now in terms of what we're going to talk about. So let's actually do something that I wanted to start implementing, is to use an actual tool to kind of change the tone. So, if you want to follow along here, this is just a moment, so you can just take a deep breath in. And we're just going to set the tone here, literally. And this is tuned to C major, or your root chakra. Get ourselves grounded. So one of the things I want to talk about today, and I do feel like that maybe developing a specific meditation might be helpful, but just giving people kind of an insight here into how to visualize the Earth Star Chakra. So you can go and do all the research that you want about this. You're going to find all kinds of information, books and blogs and websites and images of what it looks like. But what we are connecting to with the Earth Star Chakra is something that is below us, something that connects us to the grid of the planet itself, and not only the grid of the planet, but everything that has come before and everything that will be. Right? It's not quite the Akashic field, but it's the it's connecting into the planet, to the mother, and it's very. I get a sense of like an umbilical cord in some ways. But it goes both ways. That's what's different about how to connect to this particular energy center, because it allows for us to not only get very grounded, but to tap into ancestral memory, to tap into the planet's memory, and also for us to be charged, right? And to be connected. And so this chakra is, it ranges from 3 feet to 18 feet. It really is going to depend on your own experience and working with this, right? It does require that you actually work with this energy, and really feel it out for yourself, what it feels like, the experiences you have, the sensations that you have, how it impacts your thinking process, how it impacts your intuition, right? What comes through when you make this connection. So under the surface, under the crust of the planet, there is this network of connection, this electric connection. Somebody had made the reference to a mycelial network, and it's perfect because it's not necessarily, I don't identify or experience it as a grid pattern, like a very, very angular, very equal grid pattern, but much more of like that mycelial network. And if you don't know what that is, this is the network that fungi, they don't have roots necessarily, but they have that network of mycelium that does, pretty much the same thing, that goes through the soil and collects moisture and things like that to bring it back to the main organism of the mushroom or the fungus. So, but it goes out in all directions, or you can think about it as the way that connective tissue or scar tissue or a fascia, right? It's all kind of webbed out, or a set of capillaries, whatever, blood vessels and capillaries, as they branch off into different directions and become. There are large veins, right? There are large arteries in terms of this network, and those are the ley lines. And there's a network, and there is a very specific system in how it moves, and then it branches off and branches off. So if you want to, this is the network you're connecting into when, at least this is the network that I'm connecting into when I visualize this this Earth Star Chakra. So some people say it comes out of the feet. It's not that it doesn't. I don't necessarily need to, I don't experience it that way necessarily, but you certainly can connect out from your feet down to this area that is connecting your field to this grid system. So the best way to do this, honestly, is to just be standing on the actual ground or the earth, or sitting. I do that too. And you visualize this energy center, this juncture point, anywhere from 3 to 18 feet below you into the earth. And it is the point where your field connects into the larger network. And the more you practice this and be able to visualize connecting to this network, the more you practice and the more you visualize and have your own relationship with what this experience is for you, the more familiar, like muscle memory, it's going to be. And then you'll be able to connect a lot quicker and a lot more seamlessly, and it'll start to become a regular part of your life. And then it'll be something that you find yourself doing on a regular basis, especially when you know that you need to really deeply embed yourself yourself into this energetic grid system. So the idea that we only have 7 chakras is a myth. I believe that was intentionally created to keep us kind of trapped into ourselves and into the very material aspect. There is the Earth Star chakra, and then there are multiple chakras that connect us galactically into the solar system, excuse me, that we connect to as well. So that's just that's our little tutorial today about the Earth Star chakra. This is one of the things that I have found to be very, very useful and helpful, and is, like I said, it's now a part of my life in terms of the work that I do. And especially if you're doing any kind of energy work, especially if you are practicing Reiki or any kind of shamanic work or anything like that, this is essential, especially with those really high-powered energy modalities, because you don't want to be draining yourself. You don't want them to be, your client to be pulling off of your energy. You want to be connected into something that is way more sustainable, and it also allows us to literally connect with each other all over the planet as well. This is a very important system to be plugging into, and I believe my personal assessment at this point, based on everything that I have come to, is that this connection is going to be necessary in the next, less than 10 years, as the Earth is very much changing, as our sun is doing what it normally does, which is reach solar maximum. Right, the Earth will be able to maintain herself for the most part in the face of, solar forcing and the magnetic excursion or the shifting of the magnetic field. But if we want to survive, I feel like that being able to, this is all part of the Pleiadian revival that's coming with the nodal axis shifting. This is going to be a big part of the experience. It's going to be feeling. It's going to be energetic feeling in a material sense. And so this chakra and working in this way is really essential, I feel like, especially if you identify yourself as a starseed or a light worker. Our job is to really be anchoring ourselves and to show others how to, and to model this, and to be able to make these connections in an energetic but very material way, as we are continuing to evolve in our consciousness and what that will entail, because it's going to mean, as we know, leaving behind so much of what we've come to identify as our culture and society. And that's what Pluto is, doing. That the transformation process is the result of what Pluto does, which is destruction, emptiness, rebirth. So speaking of that, let's just get right into it. So I'm going to why would you visualize 3 feet when you can go to 18? Well, I think it really depends on where you are, right? Where is, and it's a varied type of, it's a variable type of explanation. I mean, it really depends on what you actually feel. Sometimes it does require going that deep into, depending on where you're connecting. And I'm sure that there are even layers to this grid work, that it's in 3D. It's not in a 2-dimensional system. So I would imagine that there's a pretty, there's a significant gap in the depth of like what this network represents. And so I suppose it just depends on, where in the network you want to connect to, where you're being called to connect to. I mean, it's way more, like I said, it's fulfilling this whole this gap or this space in a 3rd-dimensional way. And so, I mean, it's not a singular layer, although it could be. I don't get that sense, but I mean, I think it really just depends on what it is that where you want to connect. I've done it both, right? There are times where it's barely just below the surface and I'm in, right? And maybe that's the layer that is that you want to plug into. into, and maybe sometimes you find yourself dropping in deeper and deeper, and maybe there are deeper layers, kind of like your skin, right? There's all these layers to your skin, and there's all these layers and sub-layers that have different things in them, right? Different types of blood vessels, different types of cells, right? There's different functions, there's glands. So it's the same thing. Like, it's not as a two-dimensional sheet, but a very dynamic and third-dimensional type of experience. That's a great question, by the way. Very great question. So let's just get into it, shall we? I'm going to start showing you some graphs and things, get our brains calibrated and then go more intuitive. All right, let's see here. I want to show you, well, I do want to show you that, but I'm going to save that for, the astrology. Okay, so here we are looking at our Enlil spiral, and this just got updated not that long ago. So when I first looked at this, let me make sure you guys can see this. When I first looked at this morning, this is the CME that gets released from the sun. So right here coming out. When I first looked at it, it was a much bigger blast, and it was a big blast, but what I anticipate is that, and this has been brought to my awareness through other people who are way smarter and way more invested in this field, obviously, that it's kind of the same thing. It's not going to be like this kill shot. But there will most likely be disruption, like you see here. When you see it going all over the place up here and like this, up and down, that really indicates that there's massive geomagnetic unrest, right? That's like the amplitude of the Schumann resonance going way up and getting loud, or the quality being very erratic, okay? And we do see that the solar wind has sped up, and it's pretty, and the temperature too, it's pretty, it's stable, but it's a much higher speed right now. And this is well above the average, right? You can see here that the average is 350 to 400 kilometers per second. You're looking at it's maxing out, and it's coming back down and slowing down, but that's not going to stay forever. So there is kind of this lull right now, and it's not a low, but it's just like a balanced moment and settled. And even this, the X-ray class flares, even those have subsided a little bit. So you can see here, even as of today so far, like the geomagnetic unrest is stable and it's calm and there's not much going on. So, but what is going on that I think is really, we haven't looked at any earthquakes in a while, but I want to show you because it's been really active. Let's see here. I want to go out. No, we can't go any further. So if you notice here, we'll go down, is that there are a lot of earthquakes since yesterday that are reaching the 5+ level on the Richter scale, like a lot. So there's one, Indonesia. This is here in, Vanuatu, and I'm not sure how to pronounce that, but this is also in the Ring of Fire, right? Here's the Ring of Fire in the Pacific, and we're looking at the west of the Australian continent. We see even Japan's got a 4.5, again, Indonesia. So we just go down the list, and there's a big one coming. So South Sandwich Islands, this is over here, closer to Antarctica, back to the Ring of Fire, but there's our 5.7 in Chile, right on the border of Chile and Argentina, and it's on land. It's not in the ocean. So that most likely had a very, very strong impact on the residents there. Japan, again, 4.6, Indonesia, Fiji, there's a lot. Indonesia, 5.1, this is over here. So there is a lot of shifting. Mid-Indian Ridge over here, there's a lot of large seismic activity. Look at that. Oh, wow. So I could just keep going and going, but I won't. We're gonna eventually get into the chart. But for now, I'll bring it back to the reading. So that is just what I want to share with you today. So even it's like the planet, had to even herself make there's had to be adjustments in all of these areas. You know what I mean? The plates had to shift around, and the material earth had to find a new position. It was getting jostled and moved around. And there is a correlation between solar activity and solar weather and these seismic activities. And it also explains why we find that there is a connection between the Schumann resonance, obviously, and the actual shifting of the planet. I mean, that's not too much to wrap our heads around, is it? The fact that when the planet is like making physical changes in the actual structure, that it would impact the heartbeat or the rhythm of the planet. I think that's not too difficult for us to, kind of wrap our minds around. But in terms of the solar forcing and the solar weather, I mean, it's like we've all made these like energetic adjustments, and the earth took a lot of the brunt of it, while we did too. There's no doubt about it, over the last couple of days. But now it seems like there is some settling, since yesterday and today, getting us ready for this new moon, allowing us to really sink very deeply into this balsamic moon, everything reduced down to this, to the essence of what this lunar cycle really represents, and moving through the end of Libra, meaning that the moon's going to meet Mercury, the moon is going to square Pluto, and come into a sextile with Venus. That's going to be really important when we look at this reading today, and then move into Scorpio today. So, and then we are officially all on that tour bus to hell, and we're going to all be feeling it. So I do suspect that this is a moment where we allow ourselves the view from the moon, so that we understand the very big picture of what we're embarking on next, in the new lunar cycle. In November, we have eclipse season, right? Things are changing, and they are gearing up to change, and we're all making adjustments and all being led to opportunities to make adjustments, and then bringing what is very valuable to us. I mean, that's the other thing, is Venus is going to come into Capricorn. Okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. So let's move into this reading. So I hope that you I hope that you value as much as I do the scientific aspect of things, because once we start to see for ourselves the actual connections between us and the planet and the magnetics and the sun and all of the other cosmic elements, then we start to really get a sense of our place in all of this and how important we really actually are to the big picture. So let's start out here with with this reading. So lust or passion, but it's reversed, this causal factor. So number 11, this is the animal nature. This is the strength card in the traditional tarot deck, right? This is the Leo card. You can see right here, it's Leo. And specifically, this is represented by Venus in Leo. So if you look at this reading, it's fire all the way across the board. We have some returning guests here, including, oh, look at that, the octopus again, and the rattlesnake is back. Archangel Michael is now upright and in a position to really ground us and root us. I do feel like this is part of our settling down in this moment, because we are, in fact, able to draw our power from a divine channel and not necessarily entirely trying to intellectualize it or think about it necessarily, but pull it up. Here's another way to visualize how important the connection to that Earth Star chakra really is. So, but I feel like that this is, in fact, the agitation that has been brought about by the solar weather, right? Leo is ruled by the sun. And even though this card in particular has the feminine aspect attached to it as the driving force, or the element that really masters this otherwise very very powerful energy. The sun is, I just feel like this has been the agitation, and there's been passion and lust, but it's been inverted in a way where we've just been agitated. We have been annoyed. We've been irritated. We have been angry, right? There have been some serious releasing of, releasing of steam, so to speak, releasing of our aggressive tendencies, trying to release this really strong, passionate energy, this solar energy that was really amplified and enhancing a lot. But it hasn't been easy. And so this reversal really feels like that quite a bit, actually. Let me pull up my notes real quick, guys, because let's see, here we go. And this can make itself known in a number of ways, right? It could be depression. It could be a feeling of weakness, right? Because it's not really this part of us inside that's moving up and pushing out into the world like a Kundalini awakening. It's like it was like kind of trying to stuff it down, right? We're trying to stuff it down, or, snuff it out, or, make sure that it doesn't explode. I think that was a big part of it too. And so, but what that ends up doing is, in fact, like, dimming our own light. So weakness and depression, lack of satisfaction is a big one too. You want to feel, there is a lot of satisfaction when you are aligned with your fifth house energy, which is Leo and the sun, right? You are satisfied, you're sustained, you find yourself. And so when it is not when we're not allowing it to move through us, or it's too much, right? Again, lack of satisfaction. We're not feeling satisfied. And either we don't like the dramatic release of this lust and passion for whatever it represents to us, or we give up, or we give in. Or the other aspect is, allowing the beast to run wild. That certainly has been part of it as well. So however it's been expressed, collectively, we're finding that the causal factor here in this moment we are expanding on, right? This narrative that this reading represents, for whatever reason, it has been an inverted and really difficult expression of this very intense solar energy, right? And it has been. It's just, we've been bombarded. And the Schumann, or the magnetic field of the planet can only do so much when it's weakening consistently, preparing to shift positions in and of itself. And so it's important that we realize that too. And now we come into this moment here, the Seven of Wands, the Valor, right? Valor is Mars in Leo. So we got lots of fire out there in the externally manifested experience, right? The horizon of the consciousness. So we have at the center here, which is a 7, right? So we have, actually, if you look at this is right between the 8 and the 9 on the reading. So we have a lot of chronology as part of this reading as well. And we have an 11, we have a 22 over here, and then 12 is the ending of the cycle. So valor, when we have to fight something more powerful than us, but we have learned a lot in order to get to this point, and we will never ever give up. That's what this really means. You'll never give up. And I mean, there's some notches taken out of your battle wand here, but you are so backed up by all of this energy. But it's reversed as well. So this is adding to the idea of facing hardships, right? Possibly getting attacked and not feeling that we have the capacity to mount some sort of defense, or to be able to hold off, right? There's the valor here, but there's a weakness that goes along with this energy, or a perceived weakness. And this is certainly not this is not hard to visualize or to understand when you see that what's coming from, the causal factor coming into the moment is also this kind of idea that, our solar fire within each of us that represents our passion, our lust for life, right? The Kundalini moving through us is weak, or it's inverted in some way. And then we get to this point here where we really need this fire in order to face this attack with some dignity, right? And some valor. And it's going to be a lot more difficult when we already feel coming into the moment that we don't have enough. Now, this is a generalized reading. And we're going to see here that it is our vertical axis of power specifically that is going to change this around, because we're still holding to a certain extent, or still interacting at a heart level, that we still can't give up, and that we are really going to be fighting an enemy that is truly stronger than us. And we're going to take some notches, but we're still kind of holding on, I feel like, to this doubt or this sense of weakness, right? That is still kind of embedded in many of us in terms of what's going to happen, or just being... Or on the other hand, if you are allowing the beast to run wild, then you're kind of like, fighting an enemy that doesn't even exist. And I'm not suggesting that that's the case. There's plenty for us all to be focusing on, but it also suggests that we might be looking in the wrong direction. Our valor and our attacks might be directed at a specific focus or obstacle, but maybe it's, we need to take this moment here to actually view the big picture instead of getting like pulled in. But what I do see regardless is that there is a sense here that we are all holding in this heart space right now, that there is hardship, there's attacks, and there is the need to not give up or give in, and to maybe fight a battle that seems to be outside of us. Now, this is how we turn it around and get to this Princess of Wands energy, which is, Venus is coming into the very end of Sagittarius. She's sitting at the galactic center still. This is very, very powerful, and it's it's bringing that galactic energy right into our, material awareness, and into the aspects of our lives that are very palpable to us and that we feel into with our five senses. So if we want to get to this Princess of Wands, who really is very carefree and enthusiastic and courageous and full of joy and optimism, this vertical axis is where it's at. So number one, here's Michael coming back into now a position, upright position, that is rooting us. So this is our channel of divine power, not coming from necessarily exclusively from above, although we're going to see that the lightning bolt is very much part of this, but our channel of divine power is rooted. And this is why this Earth Star chakra is so important right now. And so this flaming heart, this sense of belonging, this sense of warrior nature, this sense of intent. Remember, this is where Ceres is, asteroid Ceres, the goddess of agriculture. She is in conjunction with Aldebaran. This is related to Archangel Michael. Aldebaran is the left eye of the bull, or the Taurus constellation. She's still retrograde, right? But also too, that this power and this ability to really take the dive, right? To embark on your battle with integrity and a sense of like, there's no room to second guess myself or even to fail at this point. You're just going for it. And so now we have this incredible confidence here, and it's not even us. That's the important thing to realize about this, is that we are channeling divine power. We're not just channeling our own power, which is a big part of Venus in Leo. and the passion card, because we're opening ourselves to channel divine power through, but it comes through our vessel. This is much more about, we're really just opening and allowing this divine warrior energy to come up and into our being and move up, right? We're moving up into the heart of the matter, which is kind of still wonky in terms of like, we have a battle to fight. Can I fight it? Do I have the means to do it? I don't know. I'm feeling pretty unsatisfied so far, or I'm agitated, or I'm irritated, or I don't know what makes me passionate. I kind of just want to give up. Well, you're certainly not going to necessarily have the capacity to be like, I will never ever give up if this is where you're at. But with Archangel Michael at the root here, where we can draw our power from. This is very, very auspicious right now, okay? And where is Michael? Right here. So we talked about that. So what is coming? Where do we release this? Where is our awareness? Well, the Eight of Forces is not anything new. This is the splitting apart and the metaphorical death. The moon is going to be in a square to Pluto, just like Mercury was yesterday. So when it was in our mind, this really challenging squaring off of like, I'm, Pluto just doing the actual raw transformational destruction versus the mind that is just like, no, I see the bigger picture. Like I see the full plan and I see beyond and I see through the illusion that this is all there is of what's being destroyed. Now the moon comes along and makes it something that we actually feel, that we can actually bring into our emotional awareness as opposed to just in our mind. And so when our emotions are involved, this is where we really are able to actually create. And so we release our power. Our conscious awareness, attention is going to be on a pretty drastic splitting apart or metaphorical death, or also the lightning bolt of inspiration. Also too, Jupiter, where Jupiter is, we've talked about this many times in terms of what Jupiter is doing in Aquarius right now, is literally throwing these lightning bolts at every opportunity to be like, yeah, here, this is training you to actually be able to handle the entirety of the natural world and the power of the social organism. So the moon will also in Libra today have been in a trine to an air trine, right? The same place at Spica that Mercury 2 days ago had that same trine where we all were just like, what the hell is going on here? Well, now we feel into it. Oh, there's something new coming. Oh, there is all of the resources we need in order to nourish ourselves in this process. Oh, there are actual things that we need that are coming to us. Oh, I can actually see that and I can herald it. I can sing to it. I can honor and revere the new thing that's coming in trine with the position of Jupiter in Aquarius that is providing every opportunity, whether we like it or not, to get up to speed with what's necessary to be a disciplined and fully aware and awake human being as part of this larger human collective. So what's coming into our awareness and where we're focusing our attention is much more on the action of Jupiter in particular. That's just like, here's another massive upheaval or destruction that's meant to give you something. And we have the rattlesnake here, so just know that this is part of the training and part of the initiation into your role as a healer. Because our role is not to really stop anything that's happening. Our role is to be here for the transition and the disclosure, whatever that means to you. Lots of different things it means. So where we're headed here, so this axis of power specifically is really what's going to allow us to really align with this very carefree, optimistic, courageous and beautiful and joyful perspective, right? Venus in the fire signs does represent the fact that she's at the very end of Sagittarius. And this is a very This is a very powerful, masterful position at the end of Sagittarius. It really does suggest that you have full alchemical understanding. That at the end of Sagittarius shows that the social paradigm and what binds us together to create something new is so powerful. And she can kind of just release herself into this and enjoy it. And we're going to see how the moon is going to provide some really good opportunities to reconcile the fact that we do have to take some measure of responsibility for what it is that we bring into form. And this is going to be a big part of Venus coming into Capricorn, is that she's just going to get down to it and realize that it's not just about what satisfies our senses. It's just not what allows us to feel comfortable. It's about something much bigger than that. And we can still enjoy it, right? That's what's happening now. Enjoying it, playing in it, basking in it, burning everything down around you in a playful way, just not being hindered necessarily, but it will require that we are tapping into this channel of divine power very deeply, and also realizing that the destruction and the splitting apart and the consistent focus of what Jupiter in Aquarius is really providing is, in fact, more training opportunities, more initiations, right? And creating a space for something new to eventually grow. And it's in a flash, right? Just like lightning. It's just in a flash. And what is lightning? Lightning is the release of energy based on unbalanced charge in the atmosphere. And so it's a necessity in order to settle things down, right? Just like we're feeling right now. And so we'll see. We'll see what comes up. So Adsum being reversed is really just a reminder that it's not just us, right? And we're not alone. And it's important that we don't lose sight of our purpose, and to realize that it's not just about us, each individually, and how we feel, where our comfort levels is, or our resources are. That's important. We shouldn't forget about ourselves and have the savior complex necessarily, but we can't lose our contact with our higher self or divine source in the process of bringing in this very powerful channel of divine power, right? And so we get too emotional, we get too busy to make that connection. We have to make it a priority. And so you can't expect to really connect into this channel of power without making it a priority to renew the commitment to your spiritual life, if you need to do that. And I'm not suggesting that anyone right now needs to do that, but I would say that it's very easy to give up and to lose sight of what we're here to do. And we have to kind of renew that commitment and be aware of the fact that it isn't just us, right? Because number 11 is the passion and lust, because that is the individual opening and allowing this energy to move through them to, characterize who they are and what allows them to creatively express themselves. This is much more about, we're not separate from each other, and we're not separate from the natural world either. And we're not separate from the spiritual world either. So we have to make sure that this commitment is renewed or given the proper attention and focus if we truly do want to channel this divine power. And here's the octopus again, right? The shapeshifter, the ability to withstand incredible amounts of pressure based on the way that the animal or the being or the organism is able to create molecules or utilize certain molecules to keep the cell walls from collapsing on themselves, right? So you can withstand a lot of pressure. And how do we do that? Again, you have to realize that we're not just alone in our own, we're not just an island, right? Each of us is our own node, but we do have to acknowledge that it's more than just us, that we're a node in a collection of nodes that have a very specific frequency when they come together into a pattern or into a fractal or some sort of geometric shape. And so we can change our shape. That's the thing about the octopus. You ever watch an octopus go through like these tiny holes? I mean, they're invertebrates, so they don't have the spinal structure that we do. So they are literally able to squeeze through small places. They're able to change the color of their skin to reflect how they feel. And they are literal shapeshifters. Okay. I think there's something very strong about this that keeps coming back up, and not necessarily to camouflage ourselves, although that does feel like it could be the case, but it's more about I feel like it has a lot to do with how do we actually shift that shape if we don't even know what it is, if we can't visualize what it is that we're trying to become. You remember, if you are into the X-Men and all, the shapeshifter in the X-Men is Mystique, but I believe that she has to touch you or see you visually in order to be able to replicate you. And I think that's part of it as well, that we have to actually be able to visualize and to acknowledge that there's more than just us, and visualize where we could be, visualize or and feel into what this channel is in order to actually turn into it as well. There's something very strong about this octopus energy that keeps coming back around. So let's take a look real quick. It says practice shapeshifting by altering your physical appearance and mannerisms. So this is going to become very relevant in December. And when I get into the astrology for the eclipse season, and of course for the December lunar cycle, I'll talk a lot about this, because there's going to be the shape-shifting aspect is going to come back around really strongly in December. So it's already starting to make its appearance. So, and then of course the Eight of Forces, when there is the spark or the flash of lightning and the splitting apart and the destruction, the experiences that you're presently going through are initiation into fulfilling your purpose as a healer. And so again, this is about, every opportunity to be trained. And what are we being trained in? Well, to step into our role as, as guides on this process of evolution of our consciousness as human beings. So again, we're here to be the guides and the lighthouse in a lot of ways for those who are going to make the transition right now on planet Earth. We're here to be part of that and to heal, to facilitate people's healing as well. That's a big part of how people are going to make their own transition, is their healing process. And that's all sixth house stuff, of course, is the healing process. Now, the scribe, I think, is really interesting to be here as well, because it does suggest that, everything that has been and ever will be, right? The Akashic field, that's in the last house, right? The 12th house in the zodiac. This is suggesting that these individuals, the scribes, they recorded everything. And it's kind of the same thing. The 12th house is the rendering of what has all been recorded. And then you take that with you into a new, unique cycle, a brand new one, right? When you switch over into Aries. I get a sense that there is something that we need to tap into, not so like to study or to get more familiar with, to go back into some old territory in terms of information, in terms of karma, past practices, past events, something that has already been recorded and is part of what we have access to collectively. It does feel like that we, in some ways, it will propel us into this realm, whatever is happening here. Not only the Eight of Forces and the rattlesnake, the healing initiation, but it's also going to, like I said, it's going to propel us or lift us or gently nudge us, or not so gently. I mean, there's no gentle about a lightning bolt. It's going to move us into a place where we may want to start really digging into historical information, right? To really access what has come before, what has been recorded, because I think that we're going to be kind of brought back, and this is in our awareness, right? Our conscious awareness. We're going to be brought back into, what has come and what has led us to this point now. And the only way to do that is to kind of go back and pay attention to what has already been recorded from the past, either in the energetic field, right? In our own history, our past lives, the past life of the planet. That also is coming through as well. But it does feel to me that we will be radically reoriented, with Uranus being Uranus, to go back into, it'll kind of force us back into like, well, let me go back and look at this, and let me go back and study this. Or perhaps maybe you will be in a position where you are providing access to this realm for other people so that they feel motivated or inspired to go back into it. Or you very much could be like, I'm just going to record things. This is all I'm going to do. Like, I'm not even going to come to a conclusion. I'm just going to record it. I'm just going to make note of it. I'm just going to put it down in the ledger so that it's not lost. It does feel like that there is going to be a great upsweep in mind and study of in a very different way, in a different direction, and possibly in a way that is, bringing us to a much more complete awareness of where we're coming from and where we're going, and to assist us in our healing process, either healing ourselves or facilitating other people's healing through whatever modality, right? Or even if you're not finding yourself doing that kind of work professionally, guaranteed that you just have an impact on people by just being around them on a regular basis. So I think there's going to be new information being made available to us, but we will have to be willing to take the initiative to go study again, or to inform ourselves of more than what we thought was happening. So let's see, guys. I would like to move on to the astrology, of course, and we're going to talk about Acrux, as you can see here at the bottom of the Southern Cross, because this is very connected to where the sun is right now in Scorpio. So I'll bring this around to the chart. There we go. Make sure this is where we want it to be. Yes, indeed. All right, guys. All right, so the moon in Libra, right, the later degrees of Libra has been very welcome in a lot of ways, because it's providing this opportunity within us to start really having that transcendent view, like, oh, let's view it from the moon. And so, of course, you can visualize yourself like standing on the moon and seeing the Earth as like one globe, and then you get like that really large transcendent perspective. And this is where Mercury is sitting right now in Libra as well, in late Libra. So you get a much more holistic view of what it means to live in harmony and peace in any kind of collective sense. And at a global, it's so, you just look at the globe from the moon, for instance, or the planet from the moon, and it's quiet and it's peaceful and it's very still, I'm sure. I don't know if anybody else has ever astral projected to the moon. I know I have, and this has certainly been the experience. It's just like, it's you see the full picture and you're like, oh, it's just like, so it's very peaceful. So literally the moon being how we feel, we're getting to this point now where we get the full picture of what it means to understand all elements of society and how they all fit together to find balance and harmony. So that has been really nice, and it's not going to stay this way. That's the other thing. I mean, it seems pretty clear that it's not going to stay this way. I mean, with the solar weather coming, of course, and just the way Scorpio tends to be at the very beginning, it's a little bit much. So we're going to look at the notes here. All right. And we're going to start going through it. All right, number one, we'll go back to when the moon was in that trine to Jupiter, because, well, first there was a quincunx, right? We'll go back a little bit further. So this is very early this morning, actually, 6:05 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So the middle of the night on the west coast of the U.S. and still in the morning time, maybe late morning across the pond. And then coming into the the further, east you go, the later in the day it gets. So this quincunx has come up many times, right? Because all of these elements of the sun and Mars and even Mercury, especially Mercury because of the retrograde, going back and forth over these degrees, this quincunx to Neptune is, the thing is, it's the moon now. So the moon is much more comfortable and familiar with Pisces. And so even though there's this quincunx, these things that don't fit together, which is on the one hand, everybody's coming to the ocean to revitalize themselves, which I do feel like that is happening. But Neptune, in typical Neptune fashion, is like, well, there's going to be this huge tsunami wave that's coming in and everybody's immersed in the ocean and you're just going to have to trust what's coming. And as the retrograde, as the Neptune retrograde, of course, it's all within us, right? That wave is coming at us and dissolving everything it touches, so that it's just us, in this very innocent moment before the rebirth. It's it's gonna be great. I can feel it. I can feel all of the positive. I can feel all of the goodness. I can feel all of the hope that is part of a brand new cycle. And so. But the quincunx, of course, that inconjunct where we have to make an adjustment is that in Libra, it's much more about, well, I know that what's going to help is to go to this place and commune with it in a very human way, and having the knowledge that this is actually going to be revitalizing and reviving of the social order. But again, the moon is very familiar, so it's going to be, I feel like it's going to be a much easier transmutation, if that makes sense, right? We're much more easily going to, we can take ourselves to the ocean, right? And understand that we are still a human in a meat suit standing on the shore, and we're all there together, kind of getting this sense of calm and a sense of just... You know how it is when you get to the ocean, you can just kind of relax into it. But there's a part of ourselves that actually is going to very easily, and has been very capable of very easily just merging right into that, into the ocean itself, the ocean of consciousness itself, and not feeling like we're going to necessarily lose ourselves in that moment. I just feel like that this quincunx is it's just very easy almost. It's just oh yeah. Just by virtue of sitting on the water's edge, it's almost, and everybody around is doing it in their own way. We're all having this chance to commune directly with this field of consciousness, which, again, the scribe is a very big part of the 12th house and Pisces, right? Because it's just recording everything. That's the 12th house, is everything comes back around and you can't escape what has been and what will be in the 12th house. It is everything and nothing at the same time. So this, I think, has been a little bit easier of a transmutation, or less energy, I guess you could say, than other quincunxes, because we're going to see that when the moon does come into Scorpio and meets Rahu in a quincunx, just like Mars did, it's going to be even more difficult, right? Mars was, kind of had that masculine, I'm just looking forward. So even though I do notice that there's something I have to surrender in order to step into this, step onto this tour bus to hell that we're all going on. Mars certainly was just I'm just going, right? I'm just looking ahead. I'm just going. I'm acting. Well, when the moon gets here by the very end of today, it is going to be a lot more of the feels, So take advantage now while it still feeling pretty settled to use this to find yourself and to find your channel of power, and to, if you have to make adjustments, do it. Because I feel like by the end of today, when we get the solar weather, it's going to be, the feels are going to be a lot more intense. So in the meantime, we'll move forward here. So there's that quincunx, and then there is the trine, right? And in conjunction with Spica, fixed star Spica. And so now where Mercury was just like, I know that there's new coming, but I just know it, it's something that I'm conceptualizing, but now we're feeling it. We're feeling that there's a turnover. We're feeling that there is something to be said for the sun rising again and a whole new dawn coming to light. And again, this is that air trine. So these two are forming the base of something that would come to an apex, right? This is two of the angles connected very strongly with each other of a triangle. That's what a 120-degree angle is. And so we don't have to really do much, but we're feeling into and noticing how we feel about the sun rising on a new cycle, or a new creation. And it's I was thinking about this the other day, because it was the same thing with Mercury, that I was just like, I can't even wrap my head around what this is right now. I just know that it's there. And now it's the same thing. It's just now we're feeling into it more. And it's a dark moon. Like there's virtually no illumination now. And so it does require that we actually sink very deeply into and be in the stasis and be in the stillness and be in the darkness of that space, in order to really understand what it is that's new, that's coming, and that will in fact be something that is given to us, and resources that we need, and that there's always the opportunity when we live in cyclical time, which we do, that there is a new cycle that comes about. And there's the connection to Jupiter is every time there's a lightning bolt, it's a new thing. Every single time there's a lightning bolt, not only is it training us to really be a fully awakened participant in the social organism, but it also releases the energy every single time. Every single time it balances it out when there's when there's like a bolt of lightning. So that's also too showing that there's a whole new mixture of everything once the pressure is released. So you don't have to do much with a trine, and it's harmonious. It might not necessarily be what you want in terms of what is new that's coming, or what is the emergence of a new day or a dawn, but we're certainly feeling into it, and it's directly linked and getting a lot of traction with Jupiter Aquarius, which is that singular laser focus that is coming at us from every angle. There is something that is bringing us back to center, bringing us back to center, bringing us back to center, consistently. So and this is still this morning, and so then moves on to be in this the square to Pluto, which we talked about already, because that was a big part of Mercury squaring Pluto. Now we're feeling into that as well. The sudden revelation of the mystery of life and death that we're feeling into, and really having a very personal experience with, that is in cross purposes and is going to spin us out in some ways, probably just emotionally, to the very real and very raw experience of Pluto, destroying our entire society and everything that we've relied upon as culture, in order to set us back to ground zero, essentially, when Pluto comes into Aquarius in 2023, 2024. So, and then from there, so that is definitely some discomfort and certainly a sense of resistance to the revelation of that mystery beyond life and death. We may feel that, we may intuit that, but remember how dark the moon is right now. So it really will take some some serious surrender in some ways to this in order to lean into and accept what is being taken away or what is being destroyed by Pluto. It's important. And this is with Arcturus too. So we are now getting like, those downloads, those emotional connections, right? Link up with Arcturus as well. Whereas with Mercury, it was a little bit easier because Arcturians are very, they're very information oriented. They're very knowledge oriented, very much about the movement and the transmission and communication. But with the moon, it's gonna, it's just kind of feeling into it. And I think this is way more sensitive and kind of raw feeling with this square. So then it comes to meet Mercury. This is our transcendent moment. So leading up to this point, there is some reverberations and some disturbances emotionally, even with the trine to Jupiter, because what is coming forward, the dawn of a new day, that we're not necessarily creating ourselves. We are just acknowledging that it's happening. Even that trine isn't necessarily, Jupiter really expands on our emotions, and we can be feeling very emotionally expansive in that moment with the trine to Jupiter and the moon. But I still feel like that there's not much we can do about that connection either. We just kind of have to be like, oh, these two things are coming together. So, and then it squares Pluto. And so by the time the moon reaches Mercury, which by the way is at this point, we're coming into the full moon in October, the same position as the sun. When the moon meets Mercury today, it's that view from the moon literally just hits, right? We have a full experience of it. We already have gnosis or knowing of it. And then the moon meets Mercury and it's like, then it's like a full on experience. Then it's something that we feel, that we intuit, and we know in our mind as well, the view from the moon. So there's disruption, and there's still like ripples of disturbance that are coming, even though things are settled. And then you get to this point and you're like, oh, I get it now. I get it. That is going to be that moment, because from there, boy, let's see here. From there, yes, that's right. Sorry, guys. The moon comes into a sextile with Venus at the, here we go, at 28 to 29 degrees Sagittarius. Now, the Sabian symbol for this degree really always makes me laugh, but it actually is really, really potent if you consider everything leading up to this, like the 3 or so degrees, the galactic center degrees in general, because this is suggesting, because we are inevitably moving towards a place of solidification and crystallization when you come into Capricorn. So eventually you do have to create something material and solid from the alchemical process of Sagittarius, synthesis and understanding, bring about something very substantial. This degree, the Sabian symbol is a fat boy, and this, I've been watching Harry Potter lately, and so Dudley is what exactly comes to mind. So it's, you can just say it that way, Dudley mowing the lawn of a very nice suburban home. And the idea is not about shaming anybody about their body size or their weight, or that it's about the fact that when you get to this point in a society and you have the alchemical the strength of an alchemical process, and so that can be religion, that could be philosophy, that could be the spirit of the law of the land, whatever it is, it's so strong. But you also have to continue to work on things for the upkeep, right? So it's not enough to just sculpt into form your own identity or self-projection. It's not enough necessarily to keep using the beautiful covered bridge that keeps, that's been there for generations. upkeep is necessary if you want to actually maintain what it is you've built. And so it's the idea that you have to actually step into a role of responsibility. And the fat boy, quote unquote, aspect is to show that that all of these amenities of a very strong social cohesion will lead people to be complacent and to consume more than they really need. So you balance that out by doing the things you need to do. And this is always when I first listened to Barbara Mycelial channel, the Pleiadians, years ago, and I've talked about this many times, and I will continue to talk about it because I think we need to heed their wisdom in this sense. And not all people who channel ETs are actually bringing forward legitimate galactic wisdom. And I think that partially is just people's egos getting in the way and they don't know. But I also do think that there was a very, and continues to be a very concerted MK Ultra effort to, steer people away from the truth through like voice of God technology and things like that. So if you don't believe that they can literally implant thoughts into our head, oh boy, you are behind the curve. Especially now with, like we talked about yesterday, Wi-Fi, cellular data, right? All manner of electromagnetic fields all around us all the time. So there's even sensors in the electromagnetic field of the planet, right? In and of itself. So that's something to consider. Anyway, what they said was, if you really, go out and mow your lawn, do your dishes, take care of what's right in front of you, because if you want to maintain the amenities of a strong, socially cohesive, society, people need to do the things that maintain that and maintain their own constitution, because we become fat and lazy too when we and that's certainly why we are here, because of generations of complacency, yes, that have been created, but we always have choice to know. And that's a big part of why we're in this situation. So with Venus here, this is a great place for Venus because she realizes how much she can actually like be involved in this process and do the things that make her feel good, do the things that are good for the social order or the collective value system, right? Because Venus is all about value. This is a great position for her before she moves into Capricorn, because she realizes like what she can, this is about what we can do in our actual resource-oriented reality to take care of that which holds us all together. So the sextile to the moon at this degree in Libra is this reconciling that with our own feeling of wanting to, and this is where the scribe comes in, wanting to amass or to collect or to reach the knowledge, this vast knowledge that we transfer from generation to generation, right? We're feeling into it. We're having this really strong emotional awareness of it and the enduring effort to reach for this knowledge, right? We're getting to the end of Libra now. So this is the full picture of all of the knowledge of balance and harmony of the universe, something that we can teach, right? That we can transmit from generation to generation. We have to take care of what's here first. And we have to actually step into a position of doing something that takes care of us and takes care of what we are creating. And when we do that, that is going to really be a strong investment into what we feel is feeling compelled to reach for this knowledge and information. And that's what the scribe does. The scribe writes it all down. That becomes the knowledge transferable from generation to generation when when there are individuals or groups of people who have committed themselves to recording it. So if we want to reach for this knowledge, if we have to create a routine and create actual a sense of responsibility, because that's a big part of Capricorn is responsibility, right? It's not just us anymore. We have to actually come into alignment with what it is that we want to maintain. And I think that we can do that. And these two things are going to really be good investments for each other, but it will require that on a very resource value oriented level, that we pull towards us that and attract towards us that which will allow us to maintain what we've already identified as our the big picture and our belief system and what holds us all together. Because we know what holds us all together. That's the whole point of the moon in Libra. It's about getting that knowledge and getting to that point of knowledge that is transferable from generation to generation. And this is going to be really important, because what's going to happen from here is that the moon comes into Scorpio by tonight, depending on where you are, late tonight, very late tonight, kind of like early evening on the West Coast. But this is when we get that quincunx again, and this is where we feel the feels of what is being left behind, and surrendering what has been, because we are, and being nostalgic about it as we are embarking on essentially where we're all headed, which is being open to the information that we have been exploring and trying to discover, the knowledge, right? That's Gemini's, the data points themselves, and our ability to use those data points to make sense of the world around us. That's the third house, the world around us, and our nervous system and how it interacts with it. So by the end of today, the feels are going to be, it's going to be more nostalgic and certainly going to be more kind of a sadness, I would say. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it's going to be way more like sitting in it. And this quincunx, or this adjustment, is going to be a very powerful one, because we will... this is when we can honor where we've been and honor who we've been and honor what has come before us, and at the same time find ourselves able to follow our soul's path and our karma at the same time. And that is going to create something new within us. You're talking about the moon's her own nodal axis. So to have this connection here is very powerful in terms of a soul level and down in the subconscious, in our feelings. So we can still be open to our soul's path and be heading towards it while simultaneously feeling into where we've been, and acknowledging that. It's okay that we can acknowledge that and surrender to it and be nostalgic at the same time. It's all of those things are possible, but there is something that we really do need to step into a position of real responsibility towards that and who we value, if we want to continue to maintain it and to actually be able to maintain and build and maintain that which this social cohesion can actually build. Because it's one thing that all of it is being brought down to the ground. So with Venus coming into Capricorn, it's really going to shift our awareness towards the value that we place on building these large cultural institutions or government institutions, or just a whole new matrix of reality, right? It's got to be based on it's got to be based on something that is more than just what is right in front of us. And that's kind of hard for Venus, because she really is just embedded in the world in the present moment. So we can do what we need to do: mow the lawn, rake your leaves, right? Do your dishes, feed your family, clean your house, and do the things that are good for you, your own body, your own constitution as well. Those are really important. And I think that when we do that, we can reconcile this feeling of like, how do I get to this vast storehouse of knowledge? Like, I want to feel into that. I want to know it down in my soul. Well, we can do that, but we also need to take care of what is holding us all together, including taking care of ourselves as well. So I'm going to see if there's anything else that is coming through. Oh, we didn't talk about acrux. Okay, we'll end here with acrux. So this is where the sun is right now, actually. So the sun is at 11 to 12 degrees Scorpio. We know it'll be at 12 to 13 degrees Scorpio tomorrow for the new moon. So acrux is where it's in conjunction with is a fixed star. And acrux is the bottom of the Southern Cross. Okay, so not very visible to us here in the Northern Hemisphere, of course, but it is also at the root, right? It's at the bottom of the cross, right? And so when we talk about, I mean, this is when we're talking about the reading and even the astrological chart, it is in fact a cross. And this is the root, right? And even deeper we would go into that Earth Star chakra. So there's a very ecclesiastical aspect of this star, of course, because it's the cross. And even before Christianity, the cross has been part of spiritual and religious iconography. So there's something to this that is deeper and much older than what the Christian church has given it. So but still, there's this ecclesiastical preferment and success in some ways with this, because it shows you and it represents where we're grounded. So it does give religious beneficence and magic and mystery, and is frequently prominent in horoscopes of astrologers and other occultists, right? So it's really it's multiple star system, right? It's not just one star. It's a multiple star system, but it looks like one star from our viewpoint. So this star is credited with things like intuition and a grasp for what? Inner nature, a preference for these types of studies, the gift of successful investigation to the hidden side of things. You can see all of the Scorpio type themes that are coming out here. An inventive mind. Oh, that's directly related to what's happening with the new moon. And a deep religious nature connected with mysticism in particular. So there is... and it rules the bottom of the spine in the human body, which is our sacral area, which is the seat of our creative power. And I would argue that Scorpio really does represent where we start actually producing, when we start actually producing resources in a shared experience. And so religion and spirituality and mysticism are inevitably shared experiences. I mean, you're either merging and making an effort to be in union with God, right? Bhakti yoga through devotion. You union with God through the discipline of your body. So that's Hatha yoga, for instance. Raja yoga, or the royal yoga, is a very strict form of meditation. So there's Jnana yoga, is the mind and the use of the intellect and the mental realm and study to bring you into union with God. So there's a lot of different ways, but this is this star and where the sun is really bringing us around to these interests, and really investigating the hidden side of things and finding our root here, finding our basis of grounding here, and finding the bottom of the spine, or our sacral area, or the seat of our creation and productivity here. And so the entire cross gives perseverance, but also suggests that there are many burdens, trials, responsibilities, suffering, and hardship, right? All these classic Virgo types of things that are very much related to the actual journey of Christ, because ultimately this is the instrument, according to what the church has provided so far, this is the instrument of his martyrdom. So, but there's a sense here that this is about where we are rooted and grounded, and it's very much in the hidden realm. It's very much in the very essence of what we produce in our relationships, and this is where we can find our grounding right now. And it's not just within, it's not just the people in our lives, but it's everything, that we are in fact inseparable from everything else, and it's in our specific focus on this, that we actually are productive and create from this place. So there's also this ability to really be grounded through the sun right now in terms of where it's at, like the group consciousness flowering to its highest potential. And it comes from this rootedness here. So I think that's really, I'm really enjoying the fixed star astrology these days. So I'm going to leave it there. Thank you so much for being here. I truly appreciate each and every one of you. It's been quite a week, hasn't it? So I am very honored to be part of this, and we're all going through this together, of course. So if you are interested in a reading or energetic support, you can book through Catalyst Energies. That's in the description box below. You can also go to the website to get on my mailing list so you can stay up to date with new services, sales, anything like that. If you want to subscribe to Subscribestar, that would really help support this work financially. It's $3 a month right now, and there'll be exclusive content coming for those subscribers very soon. And you know, you can connect with social media through Telegram and Facebook if that's something that works for you. And I love you guys. Thank you so much for being here. I truly appreciate each and every one of you for being being so involved in your journey. This is really great for all of us and for humanity in general. That's what we're all here for. So you guys take care. I love you. Have a great day. God bless. I'll see you tomorrow.